Welcome to the Casey Catch Up. It's been a little while since I've released a podcast, but I did record this one actually before. Basically, the reason I haven't been releasing a podcast is because I've had the birth of my first child. Little Kobe Roger Casey was born a little while ago now, and I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. So this is my first podcast after with Kyle Maligro, and we actually spoke, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks before Kobe came to the world. So I did a podcast with Kyle, a really cool one, ex-pro bodyboarder and just a frother for all things foiling now. He's been getting into the SUP downwind foiling and hasn't been easy for him, but he has done lots of downwinders with the wing, downwingers, and he's done a bunch of what he calls a drop wallet. So he gets like a little weight and he basically lets go of his wing and holds the wing in the one spot, which is a pretty cool thing, pretty cool way to be able to do it. We talk about a bunch of different things. Obviously, I talk about my deflate downwinder. And this sort of leads into, I am releasing a wing foil course in the next week or so, hoping to have it done before the end of April. Hopefully before earlier than that though. But yeah, keep an eye out for the wing foil course. That's going to come up online as part of the Coach Casey Club or as a separate option. But yeah, that's it. Birth of my son, which is why I've been offline for a little bit. Wing foil course coming, and right now, the Casey Catch Up with Kyle Maligro. Welcome to the Casey Catch Up, and we've got Kyle, Mr. Drop Wallet himself. I've been really wanting to chat to you, Kyle, since I saw that video of you in Hood River, and tell us about yourself. I don't know much else, so for me and the people listening back, what's your background?
Okay, so background is, I was born in Hawaii, 1970, which means I'm like 51 years old. No, total Grom still, loving it. Let's see, I just grew up at the beach, like most people in Hawaii, and always have loved the ocean, always been a part of it, and grew up like my parents were separated when I was super young. And so, I was kind of just doing whatever, and I just was always go to the beach. And let's see, so like way back in the, I don't know if you remember the Maury Boogie days, like the boogie boards, first boogie boards came out. I was just riding that, getting rash everywhere, loved it. And then got into like junior high, 7th, 8th, or 9th grade. And that's kind of when boogie boarding, like bodyboarding got like big, and then so that's all I wanted to do. And so I just went all in. I'm an all in or all out kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so even then I was just like, let's do this. I just want to do this. And so, it's like the typical kid, had the magazines, put my idols on the wall, loved them, and just like, oh man, I wish I could just rip like that guy, Mike Stewart and all these guys. And then come high school time, and like I started doing amateur contests and was doing pretty well. I won, like later in time I became like a state champion, and totally frothing out, just like Grom. And a bunch of my buddies were doing it too. And so right out of high school, there was this older guy. He was like a filmer, and he's kind of like a foster parent too. And what happened was he started and wanted to start like a bodyboard team, and which I was invited to be part of, and that was called Kwai Classic. And a lot of people know me from that era, and so I was into that realm full on, and we were just amateur bodyboarders, did the scene. Then we started doing pro contests and started beating all our idols, and we're just tripping out. We're just little Groms, like, who the hell are these kids,
Yeah.
So that happened, and then what happened was we all became pros. And that was our job, and it was my job for like about a good old 20 years of my life, right out of high school.
Epic.
So it was like I was living my dream, you know what I mean? And then so towards the ending of that, I moved to California to start a clothing brand that I'd started, and was doing that.
I just
met my wife, got married.
just
And
go
it's
back
like,
to the.
oh crap, we got to either move back to Hawaii where my family is or to Portland where she is, because it's too nuts. I needed to be around, needed help for the family, right? You still there? Yeah, you're
Yeah,
still there.
just go back to the clothing brand bit, because I want to get that bit in,
Oh,
because it just cut
okay.
out. So I edited it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I moved to California to start, or to like kind of grow my clothing brand, which was called Stardom at the time. And then anyway, so I was doing that. Eventually I met my wife, got married, had 2 kids, and it was like, oh crap, this is like too hard. Like we need family, because my family's here in Hawaii, her family's in Portland, and I just left it up to her and said, hey, you decide, like. And 2 days later or so, she said, I think Hawaii. And I was like, yes, back to the warm water, Meanwhile, I didn't even know about like Hood River. Yeah, this is way back,
Yeah, fully.
and what would happen in the future. But so we moved back here, and then at that time too, I was like into stand-up surfing. I got into stand-up surfing a bunch, and so I was doing that for a bunch of years. And then it's about, I think it's almost 5 years ago from now, that a couple of my friends, which that's all there was on this island, that was foiling, said, hey, check this out. And it was that one video of Kailani, like doing that double dip wherever he was.
Yeah, Fiji.
Tahiti. Yeah, Fiji. And I just remember seeing that for the first time and being like, what the hell's going? Like, wait a minute, he caught 2 waves. Like, I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So just like a lot of people, I was just frothing, and I was like, whoa, okay, like that looks pretty cool, but I have no idea how that works, And so what ended up happening is a couple of my friends, they got like Nash foils, right? Because that was kind of like one of the first ones out, that and Gulf foil.
Yeah.
And so I got one too, and they had been doing this for like a couple months, and I was just like, I got this, I surf, I'm a water guy, I can do this. And so yeah, first session, go out. Oh yeah, and the funny thing too is the board that I had, so I didn't have a foil board, right? So I had the foil set up, and I had one of those soft tops, those catch surf boards.
Yeah.
And I just drilled 4 holes, and I just attached I put a piece of wood under my mast, so it'd be kind of level, but I didn't think about doing it on the top.
Yeah.
So I just smashed it in. And I went out, and the waves were like 1 foot, super small. And first thing I just like lifted, and I was like, whoa, and I just jumped off and was like, holy crap, like what the heck just happened? Because I'm the type of kind of guy is like, I'll usually just go for it, and like not really ask questions. Same with wing dinging, same with supping, and I just no clue and just jump right into the deep end.
Yeah.
And then I just get worked, right? I just get worked. And so second wave, I do the same thing. I get up, and then I jump, and I get hit in my ribs.
Yeah.
I don't know what hits me, if it's the mast or if it's the wing.
Could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was something. It wasn't my board.
Oh, it wasn't soft,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was freaking something part of the foil, and and these guys too that I'm with, my buddies, they're like firemen, and so they paddle up to me, and I'm just sitting on my board, kind of in shock, and my buddy's like, are you right, Kyle? I was like, I think so. Kind of hurts, and it's kind of in a weird position, in my ribs. I can't really see it. And then anyways, friend of mine comes paddling up. Like I said, he's a fireman, and he sees it, and he's like, oh. And so I'm like, oh shit, like this must be bad. Like if the fire guy says that, I was like, and then that's when the adrenaline goes away, and I end up having to paddle in. And I don't have any medical insurance. I go home. I'm just so worked and in bed, and I find a friend who's like a nurse guy. He comes over, cleans it, and he's all, you totally could use stitches, but I'll just glue it. And I was like, go for it. And that was like the worst pain ever, And then so that was my first experience with foiling.
And you came
just
back.
Freaking yeah. And so what happened to me is I've never had PTSD before in my life ever, right? And I understand what that is. And so like I was a month out of it, just trying to get healed up, and I kind of had a little fracture rib, and so
the injury
yeah, I'm
was like a gash and
like a
the fractured
slice.
rib. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah, like a little bit. Yeah, dude. So like first session too. I'm like,
Oof.
I don't know, man. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, right?
Yeah.
But so what happened was this was back into where you couldn't I don't even know if you could buy foil boards. Like you would have to install the inserts yourself,
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so but then there was that sticker connection where you could
stick on
stick it on.
mount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
what
like
I
a
did
history
was I was
lesson
like,
in
okay, I'm
stick.
not.
It's like going back. Yeah, it's only
Yeah.
5 years ago, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So right. And so I was just thinking, well, I'm not going to put it on a soft top, like a small board. I'm just going to find some old gun. So I found like some 6'4", like,
Yeah.
or maybe bigger, 6'8", and just stuck the thing on it, and then put my foil on there. I wish I had a picture of it, but it looks so funny. And then my friend, fireman guy, he like took me out, and he was right by my side, and he would like I'm serious, like the waves are like 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
Whitewash, and I'm like so scared out of my mind. I'm like, I panic. Like I see that, I'm like, no, you go, you take it.
Yeah.
So it took a while. Like it took a long time for me to actually like get the guts, and just like to go for it.
Yeah.
And so finally I would go, and then I'm just on the water, not even getting on foil, and then I just jump off because I just panic. I'm like, oh crap, get away from the razor blades,
Oh yeah. Big
and
time.
and then yeah, so eventually it just started getting I would just get a little bit far, 5 feet going, and I just like, oh my gosh, this is wild. Like I can't believe this was happening, like this is kind of how it feels. But then I just jump off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we good? Are we
good? Yeah, we're good.
Okay. And so, yeah, and then it just went more and more, got into it, learning a little bit by a little bit more. And, but dude, it was for sure one of the hardest and scariest things I've ever done. Because I got hurt first day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're just so stressed after that. And I know exactly. Like, I don't think anyone understands it. Like, surfers, when they see foilers pull back on 6-inch waves, it's like, what are they doing? But when they do it, you realize that like a 6-inch wave that is a little bit too steep is the scariest thing. No matter who you are, you know what I mean? Like even right. If it's super sucky or it gets like shallow, it's like, man, I'm still pulling back on 6 inches that are the wrong shape for foil, because it's like,
but the waves, but the waves I was in, it wasn't steep. It was just a full on burger.
Yeah.
And I'm just like freaked out, this out of my mind. I'm not like some big wave charger, but like seriously, I wish somebody, like friends of mine, could have seen what I went through. Just because they would have just tripped out and laughed, like, what's going on?
They just serious. But second wave syndrome. It's getting smoked on the second wave, and so you've worked through it, obviously, and look, on obviously why I wanted you to get you on this podcast is to chat about the deef or the drop wallet downwinding that you did in Hood River, which looked epic. And it kind of I'm sure you've heard, like, I'm doing the deflate downwind, and like we've discussed it a couple of times just on Instagram chat, and like you're kind of taking to the next level, like just put and explain it to us. Like let's fast forward, and how'd you get into downwind, for like the downwind sort of side of stuff?
So obviously with the wing, it's just it opens up a whole new world of like the ocean, right? It's not just your little surf spots anymore. And but like me, no wind experience, no kiting, so I was like completely clueless too. Like I'm the guy on the land holding the wing, and it's just flipping like all over the place, and I have no idea which way to point it, what anything. So I'm totally gone and lost. And so anyways, I go through that whole trial of learning that and finally figure out how to get on foil, and I can only go one way, and I just head out straight to sea.
Yes.
And I'm like, screw this, like I'm on foil, I'm just gonna go because this is awesome. And then you get to that place where you come down and it's like, oh shit, it's like I don't know how to go the other way.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm like miles and miles out, and that's where like the charter boats are just like passing me, I'm just like, oh gosh, like, oh no, I'm okay. And I end up way down the coast, no man's land, and like doing things that hardly anybody's ever done, and just putting myself in bad positions.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, that's how I learn, right? The hard way.
Yeah.
And so eventually I learn it, and I figure out how to start from point A, go out and come back to point A, and just like, yes, I made it back.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't have to paddle my ass back, right? But then as time goes, I hear about like downwinding and stuff. I know guys have been doing that with subs for a long time. And then, you're out in a different zone where you see that stuff. And that kind of stuff is like new to me, right?
Yeah.
So my eyes are open wide, just like, oh, okay, I get it. Like those things are what guys are riding, And then so eventually I kind of figure out and try to learn how to do that. And like, that's, like I've heard and watched a bunch of your podcasts, and it's like that's a great way to learn how to downwind, right? Or like kind of learn, the bumps, and just because you always have that safety, like
safety blanket.
Yeah. So I was doing that for quite a long time, and really, really cool, scary too, because I'm in the deep blues, like everything looks small from far away, and it's like, I fall and I just be like, oh crap. And I still to this day freak out about being stuck out there. I just like back on my board. Anyway, so I got used to, like riding it and learning slowly and just having a blast. And then I don't know if you've seen, but this is kind of before the whole drop wallet is just, I was thinking like, well, how can I get more wind in my sail, And so what I tied a rope to the front handle, and then I put another rope to the back. And it's kind of like a kite. So it got higher up in the air, and I was doing that for a while.
Did you call it the rat tail?
And that's kind of like,
is that
the rat tail.
Yeah, the rat tail. Yeah.
Right. And because for me, it's like I get kind of bored, kind of doing the same thing over and over again. So like I got a like creative mind, and I got to let that out, or else I'll just like over it,
Yeah.
So doing the rat tail, and then there's this one spot we started winging at, and it's straight on shore, and there's a wave in there too, right? And there's kind of a channel on the side. So I was thinking like, man, that would be so sick to like, because I understand toe ins, right? It's like you could toe in with the wing, and then you could like throw it and then just surf the wave right after, just let go of your wing. And so I was thinking like, what can I do? Like maybe I can make like a soccer goal, like a floating soccer goal, and just like throw it into the net, right?
Yeah.
And then just go. Or like, okay, you stay over there, and then I'm gonna throw it to you, but you better catch it, because the wind will take it, right?
Gone.
And then I'm just gonna, gone. And so I was just, my brain's just like spinning, and I'm trying to think of like, what can I do, And then the first thing I did is like weights, like dumbbells, like the parts you just put on the end, the actual weight, the little hole. Yeah. So I got like 2.5 pound weights, and I was thinking like, I'm just gonna put it on my leash, and then I'm somehow gonna hold it in my hand, and then fly around, and then just drop it and just see what happens. So like I put it on, and it was cool. And then, I like paddle out, and then just dip it in the, I dip it in the ocean just to see if it will hold my wing, right?
Yeah.
And it seemed like, okay, it's gonna stay there. It's not gonna fly away. So I was like, okay, so next thing is to get up on my board and start flying, going around. But that thing was a nightmare. Like it's so hard to hold those two weights and the handles, and you got to jibe or whatever,
Yeah.
And there's a couple times that like it fell out of my hand and like almost like slammed my toes,
Yeah.
like right on my board. Just bam! I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit, that's sketchy. So, you know, we did that. I did that for a little while, and it would work, but it was a lot of work. You know, it's really hard to do. And but so, you know, like we're coming in from the deep, and I just come in and like go throw it in the channel, right? And then surf the wave, and then like, yes, it's doing it. I'm looking at my wing, like, where the hell is it? Like, it's okay, it's right there still. And then I'd either try to pump to it, or I'd have to paddle to it, right?
Yeah.
So
so the weight, it held it more or less in the one spot.
Yep.
The wind probably still blew it a little bit slowly out. Like,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It whatever the direction of the wind is, that's the way it's gonna go.
Drift.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, drift. And so you know, it'll only work at certain spots, depending, you know, like where you're
kind of
at.
like
it's
a
the best
cross or offshore, I guess, is probably
yeah,
best,
and then it'd be nice if there's a channel, right?
Yeah.
So it's not in the waves, because you know what happens to your wing if it's in the waves. It could get broken, you know?
Yeah, big time.
Right. So that spot was the spot, you know, and then I was trying to think about like, what can I make it better? And so I got one of those aerobic Velcro ankle thingies, you know. I don't even know what you call it. It's like a weight you put around your ankle.
Yeah.
But it's Velcro.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking like, well, it sucks holding it in my hand. So I just like, I got a fanny pack.
Yeah.
And then I put that thing right in my fanny pack, and it was butter. You know, I could just like go all over the place, super easy. And so I had been doing that for a while, and it's working epic. It was sick. And then that was obviously before last year going to Hood River, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to do that Hood River. Like, it's on. Guys are gonna trip out. Like, I can't wait. And so Hood River came, and I did it over there like a bunch. One part at the hatchery. Have you been Hood River?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're probably 2018 or 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, I followed there once. It was only new to follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so you know the hatchery, right? It has that kind of like little island. And so like at that little island or little part that sticks out, it's this kind of dead wind zone. So I was just throwing it in there. Then I would go and I just go downwind and just prone it for a while.
Yeah.
And then walk back up, grab it, you know.
Perfect.
And then
so for Hood River, I guess for the people that are listening, like the current goes one way and the wind goes the other way. So did the wind kind of stay in the same spot?
It goes the direction of the wind. So up, so towards inland, you know, even with the current.
Yeah. Okay.
But and it depends to how windy it is. So one time I did it at Rufus, and that's maybe where you saw the that's where that video was, I think. One of them. And nuking winds. It's like 40 to 50 miles per hour, you know.
Oh, it's strong.
And I couldn't even wing. I tried a 3 meter, and it was just too gnarly. My arms are falling off, and I was like, screw this. I'm gonna just try something else, you know, and just try to do the drop wallet. But what happened was, I don't know if you've seen in the video, but like it was so windy, and I was just going downwind for miles, and a friend of mine's filming from the beach, and I see my wing just like catapulting.
Somersault,
and you got this you got this 2-pound weight connected to a leash to it, and there's people around. And then a lot of people have no idea what's going on. They think that I lose my wing, you know?
Yeah, of course.
That I lost it. So they're trying to get by it, and the thing's almost knocking them out. I'm just like, oh crap. Oh, no. Hopefully somebody doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. It's so tricky. Like this what you're talking about now. Like even like here in Sydney, when I do downwinders, people call like a helicopter on me because they think that I'm in trouble, and I launch from one spot and I'm going down the coast. And it's probably worth mentioning, like I now use this app called Marine Rescue app, and it only works in like my state here in Australia, New South Wales. But like there will be similar apps, like sort of no matter where you are. And look, they're not really designed for foiling. It's mainly boating apps. But if you put in the thing that, you know, I'm doing a downwind paddle or downwind foil or whatever it is, and I'm dropping my wing and I'm like, you sort of put like a bit, like they'll be so confused, but if they see it, they'll be like, oh no, this guy's actually said he's doing this. So even though we had these calls, we know what's going on. So it's hard because it's not really, it's hard to alert people to what you're doing because it's so different. It's new, and that's the kind of tough thing.
It's a pretty sketchy thing. Like you don't want to do that. I don't think like way out in the deep blue, you want to do it at surf spots because like, how are you going to get your wing back, unless you're going to have somebody pick it up for you.
Yeah.
So it only works at certain zones, but it's super fun. And here's another kind of thing that, Mateo and I were at the same spot at Rufus and at the gorge, and we're just trying to change things up. We're proning it too and paddling, proning and just doing downwinds forever. And we're just losing it because actually like 3 years ago, I went to Hood River, and as far as I know, I'm not trying to brag, but like nobody proned it, I just had my foil stuff with me.
Yeah.
And I was just going in the lake and stuff by my wife's house or parents' house. And anyways, like I learned how to paddle in at the hatchery.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing it. Guys were just supping it, all Kalama guys.
Yeah.
And you probably were doing it too. And then, so I had like a 310 and I just went for it. But I understand like, you paddle for the first one, you fall back, and then that, it's the same thing like sup. I hear you guys talking about in supping, and I've tried it. I suck at supping still. I've tried many times, but I understand like how to paddle because Waimea river mouth on Oahu, we'd break that thing all the time and, boogie board it. And it's the same sort of theories. If you fall off, you try to get your paddle on so you can stay on the wave, And so anyways, I did that prone down at the hatchery, and guys were losing it. They're like, I end up down the coast and they'd be like, where's your paddle? And where's your kite? I'm like, I just paddled in, and
so sick. The only
so
people that might have done it before you is maybe the Spencer boys, Jeffrey or
maybe,
Finn. But I to be honest, I think maybe they were definitely paddling it at the hatchery, and maybe some dock starts, but like that's different, like rock starts, but that's so different to like paddling in. It's no joke. And totally different. Of all places, like I think somewhere like Hood River where it's like it's super clean, those bumps are like pretty much break. Like, it's pretty much just like they're waves. It's so shallow there.
Yeah, they kind of are. But
it's like the river mouth thing. It's like sort of it's not a wave.
You got the current. You got the current that really helps you going against the wave to like throw it up, right? But it's still that theory like downwind supping. It's like once you're on the top of the wave, you start paddling and you go down, and so you can get that momentum to get onto the next, right? It's the same theory. But it's not as 310 easy, like it's the ocean.
Blows my mind. That's crazy, man.
But so I went last year, and it just like I was like, I just want to prone like a ton. I'm just gonna prone, and I would go like way down the river. And Mateo and I would go for like long 20 minutes or so, and we're just going, and so fun. And you could fall off there too and get back on another one.
So it wasn't like you were just chipping in at the hatchery, you were getting in anywhere on the river.
Pretty much, like different zones, but there are zones that are like flatter, there's not as much wave. I look at the gorge as like there's surf spots.
Yes.
This right here, there's more bigger waves, and like down there it's like the Rufus, it's huger, but the intervals, they are like really wide apart, where at the hatchery they're really close, so it's really easy to get in. And then there's parts where it's like really flat, so so like some sketchy zones.
You can't fall in the flat spots, obviously. on the prone especially.
Right. But what's a trip is, every year new equipment comes out, right? And foiling is good. It's moving so fast. And it's like the equipment does make a difference, as everybody knows. And it's just so epic. It's like like this year, I'm so excited to go again. And, I want to try new things because I have a different adapter for my lift, and I have a different tail, and the thing just glides so good. And, like, so it
Actually,
just opens up all these doors.
yeah,
It's crazy.
so I've got to ask, like, what foil were you, like, what size foil were you using to paddle in on your 310? Yeah, that's a lot of people are going to ask, like, want to know, they
Yeah,
want to do it. Prone's the dream,
right,
right?
right. So I just had a 28 mass lift foil, and I believe I had this is before the high aspects came out, right? So I had like a 200 surf
Yeah,
and probably like the 40 tail.
yeah.
But like last year, it's like I would use the 120 and the 170 and whatever, like a 34 tail.
Mm-hmm.
But that was sort of, I'm trying to remember, that's kind of like when still kind of learning the high aspect and how that works.
Yeah.
And now just more dialed in and more comfortable and understanding, and with a longer fuselage and a different, like a KD tail, like that's really opened up downwinding for me personally, like
Mm-hmm.
in a huge way. Like even for supping, like, and prone downwinding, it's been sick.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm still trying to learn how to sup, man. Like how to get my ass in those waves out there. And there's like only like a couple guys that can do it here, really,
Mm-hmm.
that can do it. And it's tough because our island's super circle.
Yeah. The
It's a
windows.
circle, and so,
Yeah.
dude, the wind just like it's side offshore.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're proning, which I've done, supping, kind of done, winging, obviously, like you go out to sea
Mm.
and you're going away from the coast rather than just like down the coast. Like you probably have zones, and then like Oahu guys, like
Yeah.
they can chip in from another if they blow it, right? Like here,
Yeah.
there's no chip in. You just send it. And I've been stuck out like 2 miles. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm down. And
Yeah.
I got paddle in, and I'm on like my 4.0,
Yeah.
and like a blackboard, and I'm just like totally thinking of sharks. And
Yeah.
so obviously like that was scary moments. I'm 19 life, I'm way past 9 lives. Um and but like the wing is so sick. Like that
Yeah.
just really had opened doors,
Big
and
time.
I got to say something too about winging is because as time has gone, there's a bunch of like we got a big, pretty good sized crew, that go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to warn anybody and people who are winging right now is be careful. If that's all you end up doing, you're gonna get fat. You're gonna get fat, man. You're gonna gain weight because you figure it out, right? And you're just cruising.
Yeah.
Where proning and supping, there's a lot more energy and and pumping involved. Where winging, man, like you got to be careful. So you got to balance it, or else
Yeah.
you'll get like a
Oh, I
full
love
belly,
that.
man.
I was like, what's he gonna say here? What's he gonna say here? Like some sort of safety thing. It's like,
Yeah.
no, but that is something
Meanwhile,
safety. Yeah.
I drink this beer, right?
Not too good. And that's exactly, I guess, for me,
Yeah.
the winging opens up this entire new world. And like you say, you get out into the bumps,
Yep.
you see the zone that the downwind sort of crew are getting amongst, and you can do that like almost like you're in a boat. You're just like you're sailing, you're just out there. You have it, like you can see it. Yeah, I can free wing. Yeah, that's sick. I can sort of shuffle it around. Look, I'm downwinding on my wing, but like you said, like as soon as you're pumping, it's like, oh, I don't need a pump. I'm just going to sail. I'm going to sheet on again, and it's like anytime it gets hard, you just grab and you sail, which is epic to learn, like perfect to learn. But I guess my whole goal for like this podcast basically is to get people from like get out there, use the wing. It's epic. It's an epic tool, but like that's the beginning of like this whole entire discipline. And like there's sup downwind. There's your drop wallet if you've got a friend with you. There's the deflate and then the reinflate if you got that set up. There's prone if Kalama's doing the full hand paddle. It's this whole world out there, and like you say, there's only a few people doing it, but we're like 5 years into this sport. Like really, like, and it's
crazy.
Look at how far it's come already, and there's so much more, I think. It's so exciting.
Completely true. Like I I get like every year, I get a new product, right? New foil or new tail, and I'm just like, whoa, this is it. This is it. there can't be anything better. There's no way, you know. And then the next year come or the new season comes, and like, you know, like boards or, you know, like foils come out, and you're just like, oh my goodness, mind blown again. Like, how the heck? And maybe there'll be a time where it just kind of, you know, just stables out.
But
But
have to flatten out. Like, it's been the last
yeah,
6 months.
but
It's just been crazy. The
yeah,
gear just keeps getting
it's
better.
just crazy. Yeah. Oh yeah. And here's another thing about winging too is, so it was 2 years ago, and I was at Hood River, and I saw one person doing it. Right. This is it right in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, and I'm like, that looks so dumb. That looks so lame and slow. Oh my goodness. Why would I even do that? It's stupid. Right. Yeah. And then I started seeing some videos, you know, of guys, but this is like the beginning. So guys are just cruising along, and I was like, that looks so lame. Like, goodness gracious. But it's not until you start doing it, your mind just is blown. And so you have to give it a try. And I know guys like Bennett's like only now, right? He's kind of figuring it out, right? Which is sick.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, even like, you know, like guys on Oahu, and, you know, they're just like, yeah, it looks lame. It just looks dumb. But you have to do it. And I was one of those guys.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys too. And it's seriously, it's so insane. Even if you're not like boosting and stuff, but like what's so sick to me that still trips me out is like, you could be going for an hour while you watch your friends who just prone, and they sit there, and you're just go out, catch a wave, and like nonstop. And that's how a lot of my friends got into it, because they got sick of me seeing me like just catch a million waves while they caught like 2.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and here's another. I just remembered another thing. Mateo and I were doing at Rufus was, so because the wind's cranking, right, and you could downwind it good, but like it's hard to prone into the waves.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay,
and that's because it's a longer period kind of bump up at Rufus. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, harder.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can't like fall off the wave and then like go right into another one. It's like ocean, you know, pretty far apart. Yeah. So we're like, oh, what are we gonna do? And then, you know, my creative mind, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm gonna go put my wing on the beach. We'll just use your wing, and I'll hold on to the leash, okay, and then you try to get up, pump, and then go, and then let go, and I'm holding your wing, and then you can do a downwinder, and I'll come and follow you, right?
Yeah. So
we're trying to, but one leash is just too short. And what's Sinbad? That lady Sinbad at the gorge, super cool. She went and got us another leash, so we had this huge long ass leash, and then so just, it's basically like just, you know, 15 feet of a leash and your wing, and you had just enough time to get up on your foil and then start going, and then throw it, and then you're holding the leash, and then you can go follow the guy, and then you could switch, and it was just like a slingshot, you know, you're just slinging in.
Yeah. So that's I was just thinking exactly that. I'm like, people have been talking about doing it with a paddle here too, like both be on sort of stand-ups, and one guy paddle in, and if he gets up, you don't need your paddle anymore if conditions are good, so you just sort of throw the paddle to your mate, and then he can paddle up. You can do the same thing with a wing. Like when I first went with a friend of mine, Zane, he was still learning and he wasn't really confident, so I'm like, look, I'll wing with you, and if you can't, he could wing. Like if you can't get going on with your paddle, we can just swap. I'm using my SUP, and like you can use the wing, just wing down the coast. And if you do get awesome. Up with the paddle, then I'll just deflate it, and we'll cruise together. And so so we like he got up, so I just sort of sailed out of cage, deflated it, packed it down, and I paddled up, and I'm like, dude, so sick, you know. And it's
so sick.
There's so many ways to like.
Yeah,
I think the winging, winging with a friend, like that's your chip. So like one person goes along as far as they can, and look, especially when you're learning, you're probably going to come down, but you have your friend to come and then give, you know, take the wing off, do a transfer, and then he goes, and then just like, you know, you're just sort of catching up to each other each time. And as long as you got a buddy,
that's a good way to,
got to be a good way to do it.
yeah, that's a good way to, yeah, like for sure learning downwind, right? Like that's
Yeah,
what you're
because
about. And
because the
I love
paddle,
it.
as you know, like the chip in, no matter whether you're paddling, whether you're winging, whatever you do, like prone or whatever it is, that's the hardest part. But
Hardest
the
part.
the
Yep.
fun part is the actual once you're up. So if you like wing it, like that's why like the wing to me, like you're the same. It's got to be the easiest way to get going when there's wind anyway.
Hmm.
Just like boom
Yeah.
up, and then just like get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
It's just slowing me down, like, and then just go
Yep.
give it to your friend, and
Yeah.
then I reckon for those
Yeah.
wanting to learn,
What you could do, yeah, what you could do too, I was just thinking is if you have a shallow enough spot that has some good chips around, like just get an anchor, a long ass like
yeah,
rope, anchor it up. And if it's, you're pretty certain it's going to stay there, like you and your buddies could just, you could, yep, okay, my turn. And then like in a weird, like a kind of a flat zone and just pump out to the, the swells and just
yeah,
do a downwinder like that, chip in that way if
for
there's no
sure.
waves around to chip you in,
Yeah, yeah,
and then later on you just come and get your win.
yeah. So
Because
good.
hopefully nobody steals it. But yeah,
Yeah,
you could totally
yeah,
do that.
yeah. That's actually
And
I've found the video of I've got it on Instagram of your drop wallet. I think this is definitely worth sharing. So I'm gonna make this big screen and
sick.
let's have you talk us through it. So
Yep.
here you are. Leave you to it.
Here I are. So you see the right there, that's the fanny pack.
Yeah, I might pause that
With,
actually. Yeah, so that's just like a
so
2
that's
pound weight.
right. That goes around your ankle. So there's a Velcro that's on the
Mhm.
end of my leash.
Yeah,
Yep.
epic.
And so you kind of you're multitasking, you're like looking at the waves. Okay, get in the waves. And then it's like,
Oh, it's like
okay,
for
I'm on, I'm
flying.
good.
Yeah,
Yep. And then so from there, it's just bye. Now
yeah.
I'm just downwinding.
So sick.
And
Yeah,
yeah, it's just amazing. And like seriously, the swells here and like this day, sometimes they were big. A couple of them, I thought like I'd be bottom turning, and going left, and I'd look up and I'd just like, dude, is this thing gonna like barrel? Like this is why. Okay, so see it flying right there?
yeah. So I'm gonna
That's
pause it. Yeah,
yeah. So people are like, oh no, he lost his wing, and then you see the catapulting the weight, like it's like it could kill somebody if it hit him now.
yeah.
It's so
Oh
heavy.
no, yeah. And meanwhile, you're like just downwind sending it. It's like, don't worry about the
Yeah,
wing. It's fine.
yeah, not even gonna worry about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I'll get it later.
yeah,
I'll just wait down the river, and it'll come to me but that's the wind works in that situation. It's not like a side shore, straight on shore, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it works.
Oh, so
But
sick.
then, it's just kind of risky. Yeah, I was kind of risking it and just like, I wonder where my wing is, I guess it's okay,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I
But
guess
yeah, me and
yeah,
Mateo are having a blast.
looks so fun. Best $15 investment. I guess yeah. I guess look,
Mhm.
going back to this bit where it was. Is it gonna load? Yeah, this just here. This is this is what we want to try to, I guess, avoid. Like, looks like this kite is trying to grab it, and you got this weight on the end,
Yep.
like kind of flying.
Yep.
Got to like alert people before somehow, I guess, because people would be tripping out.
Yeah, and I think that's hard to do. Like maybe if you know everybody around there, but there's a lot of people that are going in and out of the water,
There are for sure.
and this is like nobody's done this, and it's like, what the
Yeah,
heck? Oh, poor guy, he lost his wing.
yeah,
And it happened to me at the hatchery too, and guys are just like frantically paddling for my wing, like, and I would just wave my hands. I'm like, it's okay, let it go,
yeah. It's
but
coming back to
you
me.
can't
It's
even.
gonna fly around to
Yeah,
me.
but they can't hear you. It's so windy and it's so
Yeah,
loud and it's just hilarious. But
yeah,
yeah, so you got to be careful. It's just a funny, just trippy way to do stuff.
yeah. So many
Creative
times
way.
I've come in from like my deflate downwind, and I've got like the wings
Yep.
sort of bunched up under my arm, and people are like, oh, what
Yep.
happened? I'm like, oh,
Right.
what do you mean? They're like, well, your wings
It was
deflated.
on
Like, oh yeah,
purpose.
yeah, I pulled the pin. They're like,
Right.
why? And I'm like, well, it gets in the way, like it's just better
Yeah.
under my arm than sailing. They're like, so they're just like, the hell's this guy doing?
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense
Totally.
to them. But
Totally.
it's like, if you know the downwind thing,
Mhm.
and obviously foiling is so good for it, but like, oh, so much power and energy. You don't need, once you're going downwind, you don't need the sail anymore. And
Yeah.
that's
And I remember you talking to Kane, like, you know, your last one about like wing downwinding, you know, or whatever you want, wing foiling, downwinding, and like how it like, and I totally relate. Like it to me, like I'm pretty over it. Like it kind of sucks because because you're just like so many times, you know, you're like in the beginning, I ran into my wing so many times, and it's just like such a nightmare. So you got to keep turning constantly. So I totally get that, and but it's still a good way to learn the.
Oh, and you get the hours up. It's just
watch,
like a fast forward button. And like you're saying before, like with the wing, it's when it's windy and the waves are good. Look, it's as good as tow foiling. Like you've got your own jet ski, and it's in your hands. Doesn't cost anything. There's no fuel, no maintenance. It's just like away you go. And and
it's the poor man jet ski.
It's poor man jet ski. Right? Seriously, it's so sick. And like for downwinding, like some people like this morning, there were guys towing into downwind bumps because it was windy and it was sick and it was awesome. But like I was out winging and I was whipping into waves, and then I just like I sort of just try to have it behind me. So like say the wind's blowing at my back, and like obviously like the wing wants to be here, like leading edge here. But I actually try to get the leading edge behind me and have the trailing edge upwind, and like your apparent speed keeps the wing like behind you. Same as when you're on the wave. But when you're downwind, it's like it wants to sort of swing around you. So it's like I try to keep it behind, and if it wants to swing this way, I actually turn towards it to put it back behind me. So that's something that, like when I first was doing my wing downwinders, I'm like, man, this thing sucks, because if I want to go left, I got to have my right hand. If I want to go right, I got to have my left hand. But then in the last sort of few months, I've really been like trying to, how do I get them to make this a bit nicer for those crew that want to downwind with the wing? And I made him one, JB. He's like, dude, you just got to put it behind you. I'm like, what, like on a wave? He's like, yeah, on a wave, but you're downwinding. I'm like, how's that work? And I sort of thought about it, and I was watching a few videos of him, and literally just put it behind you. And if you're fast enough, it will stay there. And as soon as you slow down, it wants to sort of drift. But you just have to like turn like in front of it, and it puts it behind you. So for any of those wingers out there that want to have that wing out of your way and not have the whole like blindfold effect when you're going downwind, you get it behind you. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Totally. I think I learned this a while ago. Like if it's kind of coming in front of you, use two hands to hold your wing rather than just one, because the tail will come down, right? But if you have two hands, keep the tail from freaking coming down.
Yeah.
And it's awkward, and then you're turning, but at least you won't run into your wing. And then there's that, you know how like I don't know what his name is, but the guy on Maui where he just puts it behind him and just like that star thing.
Oh, the starfish, you know? Alan Cadiz.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I've been thinking about, like I've done it a little bit, but how would that be when you're going, you know, like a downwinder, like, but over here it's just gusty, you know, so you have those moments where you're like, boom, and then there's like, whoa, crap, now you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because normally when I'm having that, putting the wing behind, so it's like trailing edge upwind, what it does is we don't get strong winds like you guys do in Hawaii. Like this morning everyone was stoked, it was like 15 knots, you know, and so we're stoked because we're out there and there's actually wind. But like if it was 25 knots, like having it behind me, it just want to come in front of me again. So it's conditions obviously play a part.
But you would probably be going, probably going 25 knots, you know? Yeah, you'd be going really fast.
Yeah.
So it always ends up like you're equaling, you know, like your speed, you're going just as fast as the wind or even faster. And once you start going faster, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, that's when your wing is just like, oh crap, here it comes. You know?
Yeah.
And so it's like you gotta pick your battles, you know, like how you draw your lines, you know, like cutting right or left, and
but
that really helps.
I guess this is what I try to explain to people. Like when you wing downwind, it's actually like for the downwind part, it's actually harder because you've got this wing management that you have to sort of, you know, it's another thing you've got to do. Not only do you have to read the bumps, but you have to manage the wing. So if you can get rid of the wing, which is why I deflate, you drop wallet, some guys tow in, some guys paddle in, like there's all these different ways. So if you can get rid of that extra thing to have to do, then you can just focus on the bumps and downwinding, and you're going to learn quicker that way. But if you can't have if you don't have your chip in, you know, you're never going to learn to downwind because you're just paddling or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's tough because it can be a distraction, and you're
Mm,
missing the opportunity to learn how to read swells, right? Because
exactly.
you're just like, oh crap, my wing's right here again, like frick, like get this thing out of the way, and like, and you're going, but you're not able to really focus on those bumps and learn downwinding.
Yeah.
Which, like, I'm so jazzed. I so love it. There's not many guys here trying to do it. And
Yeah. So tell us
yeah,
where you're up to for like your sup downwinding. I see if
yeah.
sure there'll be a
Okay,
lot of people
so
in the same boat. It's not easy.
it seriously is one of the hardest things I've ever done. It might be harder than winging and foiling
Hmm.
because, again, I don't have any background of paddling.
Hmm.
No canoe paddling or just supping at all in my life.
Hmm.
Zero. So I get this guy's board, and like we do a trade, and it's I don't know, it's like 6'0", 24 wide, I don't know how many liters, kind of more like a surfy
Yeah. Yeah.
sup board,
Hmm.
and I get on it and like, yeah, I'll just paddle around, it'll be easy. And I'm that guy, like just straight up 360s on the shore. Like I can't even get out to the spot, and I'm just
Yeah.
like spinning around, freaking out, like I want to go there, I can't even get there. I'm like 5 feet off the shore, and like I'm just doing spinners. And so I had to learn the whole, like, the technique of paddling and trying to go straight, and then just standing on the board for me is super odd. And
Mm.
switching sides. And but what was really cool is like I didn't have like much respect for like sup surfers or
Yeah.
foilers,
Hmm.
like there's a bunch here. But I just watched it. I was like, whatever. Doesn't look, it's the same like winging, like, looks like whatever.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you, once I started doing it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like mad respect for all you guys like who figured this out, because it's like one
It's
of the
not
hardest
easy.
things I've ever done.
Yeah.
So it's just baby steps. And so I've learned, and like as time has gone, like guys are saying like, more narrow, it's going to be better, longer and all this stuff. So you would trip out on the creation I made from my board. So the board that I got that I told you about was like 6'0", 24, 25 wide. I cut it and I made it narrower, and then I added foam to the bottom of it to make it thicker, like 6 inches thick,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so I did that. It's just full dinosaur. And I'm not like shaper guy, backyard, just did it. And at first, but here's the problem is, so I added to the bottom of my board. So what happens to the foil where it connects to the board, right?
Yeah.
So I cut out like a trough. So thinking like the water would just like flow through it, right? And come
Yeah.
out at the end, right? So there's like a hole, like a
Yeah.
channel, big channel. And then, but what happened was, which is probably a good thing, is my mast got shorter.
Uh,
So instead of a 28 mast, I got a custom 26-inch
yeah.
mast because I
Yeah.
added 2 inches, right? so, so I've been using this board for a while, and like I was getting better, learning it. And then I was like, it's still wide. I talked to guys, it's like, it's 20, like, they're like, how wide is it? It's like, yeah, it's like 24 still, It's like, oh man, it's got to be like 22 at least, or, minimum, and I was like, really 22? So I cut it again, reshape it, and I left the bottom, and still having a hard time. And like, I could do it in surf. I can get up easy and catch waves, but like I would try to send it like deep in the water. I could never get it on foil, like super hard. And I really have a hard time with technique and like consistent paddling. That's something I have to work on. And I know you teach how to do that. And
Mm.
I need those lessons. And but uh so doing that for a while, and then I almost was like gonna give up because I was like, frack, I can't do this. This is too hard. Meanwhile, a friend of mine, he can get up like on nothing. Like it's crazy. And I'm just like, how the heck, and I know it's technique and the time you put in, but then recently, like a couple weeks ago, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna cut it even more, my board. So I cut my board to 20.
Hmm.
Okay. It's 20 wide, 5'9". And then the part where the mast connects, the channel that I shaved it flush, right?
Mhm.
So the board it's
Less
thin in the
volume.
tail, and
Yeah.
then So it's thin in the tail, and then it gradually goes thicker up in the middle to the nose.
Yeah.
But it's flush where the thing is. And it's funny. It's like I just tried to catch it in little waves, at first, and my buddy saw it from the side angle. He's like, "Ah, that's perfect. That's like the beer belly model because it has it's thicker in the middle, you know."
Yeah.
And too. And I don't know if you saw, but like I call my boards that board. It's the Kyle Lama,
Yes,
right?
I saw that.
That's
Yeah.
what I call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyle Lama. Yeah. Actually,
Hopefully he doesn't get offended.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find
Yeah.
that. Because maybe was it a story or no, I can't.
I
see
don't
it.
even know, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's like
That's all good.
it's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I saw that photo. It was
But
epic.
yeah, but what happened was, since I shaved it and it's flush with the mount, the foil, that thing was like getting up so easy.
Yeah, the bottom shape makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like I didn't have that freaking channel, and like that. I think that thing was a suction cup all this time.
Yeah.
It's like, and so I was so amazed, and I shaped my rails like with a huge chine, and like how the Kalama boards come to the tail, like with a triangle. I did that with my tail, and seriously, like my board, like just paddling on it, it goes so fast in the water.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's almost a sinker sup paddle board because like I'm sinking.
You lost all the volume. Yeah.
Lost the volume. So
what are the dimensions now?
Yeah, so it's like it's 5'9" still, 20 wide, and I took off. I don't know the liters, like it's like when I stand on it, I'm at like 155 pounds.
Yeah.
And it kind of sinks in the water when I'm
Yeah.
standing on it. I can't just hang out and cruise. So it's a lot of work.
So here's some advice for you and those listening.
Yes.
I would say 5'9", like I'll tell you what I'm using. I'm using a 6 foot by 24 wide board. That's what I've been using for a while. I've just ordered something a bit narrower. I think I ordered one that's 22 and a half and one that's 21 and a half maybe. So I'm going narrower, but I think 24, like there's no issue with it because you got to remember this: balance equals power. Yeah. So if I'm on this really narrow board, but I can't balance on them, I can't put good paddle stroke in. So volume is important too. Like the volume of my board's 79 liters and I'm 82 kilos. So it's like same. If I'm not paddling, I'm just like slowly sinking. And that doesn't make it easier for me, but because I can paddle up on it once I'm up, it's smaller, it's lighter, it's nicer to foil. You look at like the Spencer boys, Jeffrey and Finn, like they're on like stupid low volume, but they're super light and like they can paddle it. Like it's like a couple liters below their weight in kilograms.
Right.
So I'm 82 kilos, my board's 79 liters. So like if I'm paddling forward, it's going to stay on the above the water. If I stop, I sink. But I'm not, like I don't want to be stopping. If I'm standing up, I'm going.
Right.
And if I'm foiling, doesn't matter anymore. So it's just
it's
a transition.
Yeah.
So my advice is always longer. Gives like a longer board gives you more more plane, like more speed. So you take one stroke, you're going to glide for longer. So that's the advantage of length. The disadvantage of length, obviously, once you're up on foil, it's longer. You pump, nose touches down, tail touches down. It's a little harder to manage.
Let me ask you this. Yeah, let me ask you this. With the length too, does that, like, when you stroke, does that help the board go straight? Keep it straighter with the length?
Time. Yeah, big time.
Which is key because, a smaller board, it wants a,
full like dish pans. Yeah. That's the other reason, like a longer board allows, straighter for longer and glide for longer. And then width, and we kind of know this, like I was chatting to my mate Marcus who designs my boards, and my first couple of boards have always been sort of around that 24 and a half sort of width. And we saw guys going like 21, 22, like, man, that's skinny. And for like a little board, that's skinny. But like before I was foiling heaps, I was paddling a race board, and like if I'm on a 25 wide board and someone else is on a 21 wide board, there's no way I can keep up. No way. Like zero
Mm.
chance. And in the flat water, especially.
Yep.
So in terms of sprinting and speed, width is huge. So going from 26 wide to 22 wide, you're going to be able to paddle faster. That's huge. But
Yeah.
if you
Right.
can't balance on your 22 wide board and you can't get any power in on your 22 wide board,
Yep.
then it's useless.
Yep.
Like for
Sure.
downwind stuff, like for my like open ocean, like Molokai board, I never went narrower than 24, 18 feet,
Mhm.
but 24 wide, because if it was like, if it was narrower than 24, I'd probably fall off once or twice. And you fall off once or
Yep.
twice, you lose any advantage you have from going narrow, because a fall is super slow. So in
Yep.
terms of, and this is obviously for racing, but like just having fun, like, and getting going
Yeah.
earlier, there's this, it's always, everything's a compromise, you know. Length, not so nice once you're up and foiling, but you get up and foiling.
Yeah.
Width, not as easy to get up and going, but easier to balance. So maybe you're going to get up earlier. So it's, everything's like pros, cons. Then volume, obviously, I've gone super low, like probably as low as I can go, but still getting up. I'd probably get up earlier if I was on a like a board with, like, it's thicker, more volume. But once it's up, I kind of like the thin feel, like the thinner feeling. So it's everything's a compromise.
How thick is your board?
I don't know
About.
exactly. It's 6 by 24, and then you got to add the volume in. So it's only 79 liters. So it's pretty, like, it probably, like, I don't know, it's not a measurement.
5 inches. Yeah,
less.
like
I
5
think
inches?
it's less than 5. Yeah.
Wow. So like 4 something.
4 and
Yeah,
3/4
maybe
or
4.
something. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, it's the way Marcus is pretty against going super thick, because it makes the,
Yep.
it just for like a prone board, if you make it super thick, it feels like it's further away. So like the rolliness under your foot is something that we found in the early days. And so we've sort of went, well, let's just go like a little bit longer, a little bit like sort of maybe a little bit wider, and keep it like, not don't make it like a, you know, freaking block. Make it a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
But it's as I said, it's a compromise. Like if we make it thicker, then we don't have to go as long or as narrow. So, and we've seen like in the last 6 months, the downwind boards have gone crazy. It's so cool to see that, and like all the little R&D stuff you've done, even, you know, you've gone, okay, let's chop this, let's make this shorter, let's make this narrow, and let's reshape it and see what do I feel. And I guess you can never make it longer, but you know, from what you felt before and then what you felt now, it's pretty cool. Like this is right now, we'll look back at this time and be like, they're figuring it out there. And we'll look back, what idiots, why do we do that?
And I so want to do it. Like, I just so want to, just because I understand, you know, downwinding. I've done it prone, I've done it with a ski, you know, and going forever, you know, and I just want to, and I understand, like, I want to do it, but it's too sketchy with the prone board, because I fall and I'm way out, where the paddle, I have safety, I can like figure out how to do it and keep going. So it's been tough, but it's
sounds
seriously
like
a
you're
goal
so
of
close.
mine.
Honestly, I think
so close. I think I just need a better board.
Your Kyle Lama's not working.
But
what foil are you using to when you're doing your paddle downwinders?
I would use a 170. You know, and like whatever, longer fuselage and KD tail. And
have you ever used
it glides really good.
Have you ever used the Lift 200 high aspect?
No, I might have, but never for that. I've tried the 250, and I feel like I just rode it in waves. And I seriously felt like I was going backwards.
It's a bit of a slug.
It was a plug.
And,
oh my gosh, it's just a nightmare.
But I tell you, like, this is something.
But I understand, like,
I
understand that it's not about speed, right?
It's
like staying with the swell and like cruising. I've learned that over time. So I get what you're saying. And that's a really good
from people that are listening, like, if you're having a hard time paddling up on foil, just use a bigger foil. Like, obviously, or like see if you can borrow like a friend's big foil or whatever it is, and because the advantage is you're just going to get up earlier, and then once you're up, look, it takes a little bit of getting used to going slow. But this is what I always say to people, like, so I've come from paddling a stand-up, and there's guys that prone paddle and canoe paddle and, you know, surf ski paddle across Molokai and all those sort of races. The slowest foil is still so much faster than the fastest paddle craft. You know, it's the people that say, oh, it's so slow, it's horrible. You're still going quick. Don't worry. Like, I tell you when you're going slow is when you're paddling and never getting up on foil. That's when you're going slow.
Yep, big time. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I love it. I you know, for a while I was like, I don't understand downwinding, supping. That doesn't look fun. You know, it looks boring. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna try it. Oh my gosh, like this is insane. And I watch friends, you know, and I see you guys doing it, and it's like it makes sense, you know. And I've had a couple little times where, you know, I understand downwinding, and it's just that just opens up another door. But what's heavy though is, you know, I got a wife and kids, and so there's like prone foiling, there's winging, you know, there's supping, there's towing, and it's like, and the weather is constantly changing, right? There's like waves, and it's classy, so you go prone, and so there's like, it's opened up so many options that it's
hard to choose.
It's kind of like, I probably need some like therapy, because, you know, like I'm just like, I constantly am on the go. Like, oh, I got to print these shirts. You know, that's what I do for a living, is I have a print shop, and it's like, I get the call. It's like, dude, it's cranking wind. Let's go try sup. Okay. You know, or it's glassy and the waves are firing. Let's go prone. And it's this constant, the wing, you know, let's go wing, you know, and
there's no downtime.
Which is so amazing with foiling, you know,
always
like
firing.
surfing, like, and like 5 years, it's been like about 5 years, I've maybe surfed or boogied for like maybe like 8 times in 5 years.
Wow. And you're like an ex-pro body surfer, man. Like, so that's, you know,
a bodyboarder.
Bodyboarder.
No, but whatever. yeah. And I could care less about getting barreled. Like, I've had that time. Like, I feel like I'm getting barreled all the time now. Like that same feeling, the G forces and the speed and the thrill and the excitement and the sketchiness. Like, it's that same feeling, you know, like I had when I was surfing and boogieing, getting piped. Yeah. Except now I can like wear a hat, and I don't have to worry about looking up at the lip, you know, save my bald head. And it's like, man, like, and you can go into like rivers, you know, rivers and lakes, and you can just keep.
The other thing is 0 crowds, 0 hassle.
Yeah.
And everyone's
awesome.
All the other frothers, like all the foilers, are frothing too. Like, it's good energy.
Frothing.
So much good energy.
Good energy, man. Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things I love about this sport. Is the camaraderie, you know, the community. Like, I've like come back into friends' life that I haven't seen in like 20 years, you know, just like in different realms, you know. And now we're foiling, and then like there's you guys, there's like all these other guys around the world, and I see guys at Hood River, like, yeah, I remember you from last year, and they were just like constant bond and just like psych.
Yeah, jump in the car, we'll give you a lift. Yeah, it's just like,
I love it.
And then like, so every now and then I still surf, and the surf's been pumping this summer.
Bummer. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Sorry to hear. Because like I catch up with my brother when I surf, and he surfs a lot of the time at North Narrabeen, and we go out there, and it's like Northies are like it's a pro surfer spot. Like, everyone goes there because they want to be pros and they want to learn to, you know, rip. And it's cool, but like everyone out there is so grumpy. Like, there's not like, oh, how you going? Like, how sick was that one? It's like, and it's just like, there you go.
I was one of those guys, you know. Yeah. I was totally one of those guys. I was just getting kind of bored, and I was like so thankful that foiling came into my life right then and there, because I was like getting bored of surfing. Yeah. Like, man, this is kind of bummer. And then then my life changed. And then it's like, okay, I'm 50 years old or like 45 years old, and like, okay, I'm 19 again.
Fully, you know, just like clicking, like, I'll profit it.
And that's what's so sick. You know, I see so many older guys that are winging too, right? And like, we're talking like 60s and their 70s. Yeah. And they're like, they're so like, they got younger, man. They're so much younger, and their attitude is so different. They just have the froth. And that's what I love about like winging, especially because you got like kids the freaking grandma and grandpas,
fully.
and you got all in between that, and so like everybody can have fun, and it's
And
just
on the water, everyone's the same age. It doesn't matter. Like everyone's
Yeah.
just like, everyone's like, yeah, like just I was out before, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, you go past someone, you're like,
Amazing.
ew, you're just like frothing out. It's so sick.
Yeah,
Everyone's just like,
it's-
oh, that's a sick one, and
I
everyone's
love
loving
it.
it.
I love
Like,
it.
and
Right.
one of the guys, like, there's a ski out, and they were towing, and another mate of mine, just, he's learned to sup downwind, and it's kind of like a long headland, and like the jet ski just picked him up and just like, oh, I'll tow you out instead of you paddling out. Just sort of towed him way out to sea, and he just does his downwinder back in, and he's frothing. There's all this. It's like
So
a
sick.
community community of
Yeah.
froth. It's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. It's been so sick to chat to you. It's been we've been trying to do this for a while, but I'm glad we got it done. Let's hope that keep that innovative, creative mind going, dude. It's so sick. I want you to, like, I'm going to say it. You got to try the deflate, man. You got to try the deflate downwind.
Right. Yeah, I don't have the equipment, but I'm sure I could figure it out and find somebody with it. And
all you need is a dry bag for your pump, and then pretty much, like, look, it sucks if you come down, but like, you got the skills.
Right.
You can downwind. The deflate, honestly, just practice it on land. Like, just hold it, deflate it, and then, like, if you got the strut or you're just doing the full deflate, doesn't really matter. Just whack it under your arm, and because you're up on foil, like, maybe the wingtips kind of just drag, but it's not like, I keep saying, like, people that try to understand, but like, it's not as hard as you think. Like, you know how to downwind, you can kind of just cruise, you deflate.
So yeah, totally.
And then the hardest thing
is
is
the thing though. Okay,
pumping back up in the water. Like, I think we've discussed this on Instagram chat before, but like, if you're in a little board like sinker, I'd probably say it's probably a little bit hard. But if you're using like your sup to downwind with it, and it's like, say it's a bit more liters, you're above the water, and even if there's waves coming, like, your pump can get a little bit wet. Like, it doesn't really, like, I've used a 70 liter board to do this deflate. I know. Yeah. I've used a 58 liter board as the smallest I've done it on. And that's like minus 30 liters. So I'm sort of half underwater. I can duck dive the board just.
Sure.
So yeah.
I think that's the thing with me was because for winging, I've been using like 31 liter boards like for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And not till recently, I got a new like Freedom board, it's called like the Wingnut, and it's a 50 liter and it's 4.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd work.
It's like almost like a square.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I watch those guys doing those winging contests, like the Euro ones. Yeah. They got like huge boards, like, and like, even like I see your guys' boards, I'm like, dang, your boards are so huge. Like, I don't need like such a huge board. And then so I got like this 4.5, 50 liters. And I was kind of scared, like, oh man, it's gonna be just too big. And like, the term that I use for bigger boards is buffalo. I was like, oh dang, that's too buffalo.
Yeah.
But I rode it the other day. I've been riding it, and it actually is so much better. Like,
to get going,
my 31 liter boards. Yeah, easier to go because it'll be like 10 knots.
Yeah.
And like, oh, stressing out. I want to get up. 31 liter ain't getting up. 50 liter, boom, up.
Yeah.
And just to like the volume wise, like kind of like boosting and landing, it's like good to bump up really quickly.
Because you don't go under if you.
But I think there's kind of like there's too much, but it depends on what you want to do. If you're a cruiser, just get the biggest board. But then like how you're talking about the deflate, when you were telling me about it and I seen you do it, I'm like, bro, I'm like here in the water when I'm sitting on my board. How am I gonna like, you know what I mean? So it's like now I could probably do it with my 50 liter or my Kyle Lama. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That's it. And here in Sydney, like, it's kind of hilly.
Yep.
So our wind is, man, it's gusty. Like, if it's 15 knots, it's 5 to 15, and the gusts are 15.
Here.
Yeah, it's just like
same here.
So no one uses a sinker board in Sydney, pretty much. Like, everyone's using at least 50 liters, like, which is
really
just because the wind is like, most people are using like Zanes on like a 75, 80 liter board. That's what I normally use, like a 75 liter board. They're short, but they're chunky. Like, and I'm like always the last to get going because I'm on a 75 liter. Someone else will go out like on an 85, 90 liter. And because I'm like that little bit lower in the water, they're just like, I'm like, I want to use maybe I should use a bigger board. And then once you're out there, it's like, no, I don't want to use a bigger
Right,
board.
right.
Happy.
So my only problem is like if you're surfing, right? If you're surfing waves, you know, like with a smaller board, it feels like, you know, the like say your prone board, right?
Yeah.
It just feels so sick to surf, right?
Yeah.
But then you don't want to fall and you can get
No.
stuck inside and then there goes your wing, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's like playing the game, right?
Full balancing act. But I feel like I got a 410 that's kind of like perfect. It's that sort of 58, 60 liters, and it's like I sink, like my knees are underwater to get going, but one good gust I'm up on the plane, and then another good gust and I'm going. But if it's 5 knots for 5 minutes, I'm not getting going. I went out the other day and I literally the wind dropped, but it was still sort of windy enough. I drifted for an hour on my sinker, like did not get going. And it was just like, it's not worth wasting a session. You know, if I use a bigger board, I'm
sucks.
going.
Yeah. I recently had a 2-hour ssession, didn't get up.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And I got pounded by a set. Like I just got worked. And I was like, this sucks. And I had to do the paddle of shame and just went in and I was like, and it was 2 days in a row that I couldn't get up. And I'm just like, But over here in Hawaii, the weather, like the wind has really been light for the past couple months.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why it's been hard to sup too, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So summertime,
you guys should be surfing right now. It's pumping.
Yeah.
Surf
which we have been.
Yeah, for sure.
So
just when the wind comes, you're like, you want to go because you haven't done it for a while.
Full on. We all freak out, but it's good, you know, the prone, because you can lose some pounds.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I mean? Try to stay fit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say congrats to you and your baby, right? Coming up soon.
Yeah, coming up. Probably I'm probably releasing this in a little while, but hopefully the baby's come by the time I release this.
Wow.
Because she's 38 weeks now. So she's
really?
Yeah, so she's about to pop.
So because I was gonna ask you earlier if you you know, like, do you pad pan? And and then I heard that you had the baby and I was like, yeah, pee pad pants. He's nice.
Pad pan. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one day if I get my butt in gear and like actually do this, which I think it's fun and it's hilarious, man. Everybody I talk to is just it's classic. Even old people, man, they love it. But got to get you and Bennett's like maybe license it in Australia. You know what I mean? Get a foil brand going.
For sure. Yeah, that'd be epic.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah.
Actually, before we go, let's finish up. Can you give us 3 tips for anything downwind, like whether it's, you can choose, but just 3 tips for those listening along that want to improve their downwind game?
Oh man, guts. You need to have guts. You need to take off the panties, take them off, throw them over there, and just send it. Okay, so you got to have guts, or else you just won't even attempt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then time. You got to put in the time. Like I always think like I'm gonna do it first session. You know, I'm gonna send it. I watch the videos. I see the guys do it. I can do it. And it's like there's just no way. You know, so you got to be patient and you got to put in the time, a lot of time. And some guys, you know, they pick it up quicker, especially if it's sucking groms. You know, but but you really have to put in the time. And then third thing, shucks. I would say like equipment, you know, is really key. But at the same time, like I think people already know that. But I think it's just like going in with an attitude of like just having fun and you're in a different realm and you're basically seeing something that you would never see if you're just a typical surfer. You know what I mean? And you're doing something that's so new and fresh in, say, foiling world. You know, I know guys have been downwinding, but like with the foil, it's obviously really different. And it's just it's just hard to understand to this day. Like, yeah, there's all the science and everything behind it all, but when you're doing it, it's like the most wildest feeling. Like you're like on drugs, or like I don't do
Flying.
drugs anymore, but
Yeah.
I did drugs before, but it's like, it's almost like, it's like, I think of it as like a miracle that we can actually do this.
Yeah.
It's just like
Oh,
mind blowing to me.
fully. Yeah.
And when you have that attitude and you pull it off, you're just so frothing. Like it's seriously, it just makes you younger.
Yeah.
It's got to make you younger.
Yeah.
And so I'm all about that.
Yes. Epic. Thanks so much, Kyle. I got to run, but really appreciate your time, and stoked. Keep the froth going, keep the creative spirits going, juices flowing, and
Will do.
I can't wait to come flying with you soon.
Yes, do it. All right, Hood River, July.
Yeah, let's do
on.
it. Be there, be square.
Okay.
Catch you, mate.
Okay. Aloha.